Colin had a problem and a microphone to spare. Thomas took it up and so the podcast went to air. For weeks and months they trolled through every single DVD. They've unwrapped all the ones they can and now they're cellulose free. Now they're cellulose free.
Hello dear listener and welcome to Cellulose Free. My name is Colin and with me as always is my fellow film watcher, compadre and son, Thomas.
Hi, hello.
What have you been up to?
Not a whole lot, to be honest.
Good.
It's been a slow week for me.
Right.
Many weeks are slow. And this was one of them.
Well, I've been very busy.
You have, yes.
Yes, I have donated plasma and that's it. No. I actually met up with one of our dear listeners.
Oh.
Hi Lee. After donating plasma, and it's been a while since we had a catch up and I ate and he didn't. I was going to say we did lunch, but on thinking back, that would be a lie. I ate in front of him.
You did lunch while he watched.
Yes. And then we headed back towards his work and he grabbed some chips and went inside. So the interesting thing, though, is that he's moving at the moment. And so he's wanting to get rid of stuff so that he doesn't want to move it. And I suspect it's also a case of there are certain Blu-ray discs that he has upgraded to 4K. Mm-hmm. And he generously got in contact and asked, look, do you have this on Blu-ray? Do you have this on Blu-ray? Do you have this on Blu-ray? And pretty much all of them, it was a case of, no, I've only got those on DVD. So he came along with a bag of goodies, very exciting, and I said, look, do you want the bag back? And went to put the discs into my backpack, and he said, no, I don't need any more bags. So I took them and then headed towards the bus mall to catch the first of two buses to get home. Waited at the bus mall for quite some time, and then a bus turned up that went to the next interchange, so I caught that and then got off at that interchange and waited another 15-20 minutes for the bus that would end up getting me home. And I got home and I was a bit pooped. So I slumped on the bed and had a bit of a rest, and then I thought, I should scan those discs into the My Movies database. So I went to grab the bag that I would have thought was sitting next to my backpack that I plonked down on the floor in the hallway, and there was no green bag. Yes. Yeah, that was one of the thoughts that I had, as well as, oh no!
Did it turn out to just be somewhere else?
Well, it wasn't in the house.
Right.
So somewhere in that long saga of changes of buses and things like that, I am so used to only having a backpack with me. And during times of waiting and times on bus, I tend to be distracted with my phone and what have you. So somewhere along the line there, I got distracted enough to forget that I had a green shopping bag with me. So we parted company somewhere along the line, and I felt awful. I felt really, really bad, especially considering just as I was thinking of the enormity of how terrible this was, that someone was so generous to offload their Blu-rays to me. Dear listener Lee sent me a text saying, hey, thanks for today, it was good catching up. And I felt even worse, and I go, do I tell him? And I sent back, yes, it was great. And then I put on my non-anxiety pants that don't work, and I called the Metro bus shop thing and said, can you be on the lookout for a green Woolworths bag with some Blu-rays in it? And I got a response of, okay, what's your name? And just this utter feeling of, you are never going to see those ever again. And then I thought, they're not going to find it if I left it at one of the bus malls. By that stage, my hunch was that I'd actually left it at the very first bus mall that I waited. I had this feeling that I stuck it under my seat, that I actually had a seat to sit on at the bus mall. And so I made another call to the Hobart police station and asked to be put through to Lost and Found, and said, look, can you be on the lookout for that? And it felt like... Now, do you remember the Disney film Atlantis? Lost... Do you remember the radio operator, the woman with always a cigarette in the mouth? And oh dear, it very much felt like I was speaking to her twin sister. So it felt even more like, oh, this is a complete lost cause. And I thought, oh, look, maybe something wonderful will happen. And I got up in the morning. I had a restless night, because anxiety me sort of fix it. It wasn't so much the discs. It was the fact that someone was kind enough to give me these things, and I lost them. I didn't look after them. So the next morning, I'm in a foul mood and thinking, and I'm about to send a message to Dear Listener Lee, saying, I have a confession to make, I feel so bad. And the phone rang. And I thought, and I didn't recognise the number, which causes major anxiety. But I thought, look, good. And I answered the phone, and it was Metro.
Right.
Saying that during the clean out of the buses at night, they had found a green Woolworths bag with Blu-rays in it. So there is a Blu-ray god, and I was most relieved and immediately said to Wendy, we need to go to town. I need to retrieve these objects of value, and yes. So that was yesterday. So I hadn't sent the text to Lee, but after I had them back in my hands and scanned in, so that I knew they were actually in the house, because if they're not scanned in, they aren't necessarily in the house. So I took them out and stuck them on the shelf, and Coco, the deranged cat, was most excited about the possibly cat smells of the green Woolworths bag, and had a great time with that, as I sent a message to Dear Listener Lee saying, this is what happened. And we all had a laugh about it. Yes, but wandering into the Metro shop and saying, I got a phone call, and they said yes, and someone raced up and grabbed it and said, well, that's a 50% success rate. There's somebody else who's lost something of vital importance that hasn't turned up. So I was lucky and happy, and yes. That was yesterday, and today I tackled the jungle out the back.
I noticed.
Oh, that's right. You were in the house, weren't you?
Yeah.
As I revved the 4-stroke whippersnipper, weed whacker. What else do they call them?
Thingo with the wires on it.
Yeah, a string something, a stringulator. No, some country has a word with string in it, I think. Anyway, it kept on snapping the cords, and it was driving me crazy. And
string trimmer
or strimmer. I think some people call them strimmers. Anyway, destroyed the jungle and then mowed over all of that, and managed, whilst trimming around the hot water cylinder, to cut through the conduit.
Ooh.
Not the power lead inside the conduit, thank goodness. But it still means that an electrician has to come out tomorrow and stick a new conduit around the cable, because they have to unhook the wires remove the broken conduit, put new conduit over it, and then reconnect the wires. So,
and inevitably the hot water cylinder will be declared defunct.
what? No, don't say that. No, everything's fine. The hot water cylinder is still functioning. I suspect it may still actually be on its last legs, whether I've gone through the cable or not. It has been there for a very, very long time, and it's showing signs of rust around it, but touch wood. Oh, there's no wood. How do you class MDF?
There's a great...
Oh, hang on. There's some there. There we go.
There's a great Door Monster sketch about exactly that.
You need a wood app so that you can bring up a picture of wood grain and you can tap on. Anyway, so yes, had to contact the landlord, and he was most obliging to call out an electrician who's actually supposedly coming tomorrow morning, mid-morning, and fixing that. So, there. You didn't have anything, but I did. And hopefully I can trim that down, because that went on forever. Because I'm still anxious about it all.
Yeah. No, my week has been boring in comparison. Yeah. Just playing games, binging stuff. Yep.
But it's spooky season.
It is.
And we are honouring the spooky season.
It is very nearly the late October commercial holiday. It
is. So I have picked possibly one of the only straight-out horror films that is on our shelf. In fact, it's sitting on the screen at the moment. We're streaming it from YouTube because the version on there is far better than the DVD that we grabbed and checked. And what is more, the DVD, how long is the DVD?
73.
73 minutes. The one on YouTube is an hour 28. The YouTube version of it has, at the end of the title, full horror. So I'm prepared to be scared. What are we watching today?
We are watching Nosferatu, a symphony of horror.
Made in 1922. We are watching what is commonly referred to as a silent movie. Although this version that we're watching does have a full symphonic soundtrack.
As opposed to a full synth soundtrack.
Synth sound. Oh, and then it went into guitars for some reason. It was, yeah. So we did try out the DVD, and
we got two shots in.
We want to give the director the recognition he deserves. This is quite a famous film.
For various reasons.
Which we will go into later. I have waffled on far too long. Let's have a plot synopsis.
Murnau's Nosferatu is an unauthorized adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula. It recounts the eternal battle between good and evil, love and hate, innocence and death. A young man must combat the devil incarnate in the form of the sinister Count Orlok, better known as Nosferatu the Undead, in order to save his soul and the woman he loves. Nosferatu represents one of the facet treatments of the vampire on film and remains a classic in cinematic history. This updated version, updated they say, will both thrill and horrify new generations for years to come.
That's what we're in for. What was the incorrect, the weedy word?
Facet.
Good.
A misspelling of first, so...
There's that symphony of horror.
Yeah. So, thanks, Flashback Entertainment.
Yes. Quality DVD.
I should say, without you, we would not be doing this tonight.
Exactly. That is true. And I think it's good that it has prompted us to do it, but we're going to want to watch a better version of it. Thomas is going to hit play on the Chromecast, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
Turn to page. There's reading. We're going to be doing a lot of reading.
There is going to be the
intertitles.
Intertitles.
It's not subtitles.
No.
They're underneath.
Mm-hmm.
It's not opening titles, although there are some of those. Those are at the start. It's intertitles. Titles in between.
Our dear listeners are going, get on with it!
Okay, we will then.
Okay.
Go away.
So, what did you think?
That did almost exactly nothing for me. I can understand why it would be an important film, but nothing.
It's interesting. It celebrates its 100th birthday next year. So, it's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
And there are lots of things in it that are still very much familiar in film production these days. But pacing is...
It takes an hour out of this hour-and-a-half movie before Count Orlok arrives in the town.
And then things just happen at an incredible pace.
I wouldn't call it an incredible pace, to be honest. Even that last half hour is slow going.
It is a slog, yes. But I, like you, recognise the significance of this film. I do have some notes.
Right.
It's interesting, I thought, that these days, or well, possibly not so much these days, but certainly in the few times that I visited hotels or motels in the 80s and 90s, usually on the side table there would be a copy of the Gideon's Bible. Mm-hmm. But not so in Transylvania. No. No, in Transylvania, you don't get a Gideon's Bible, you get a Vampires, Terrible Phantoms, and the Seven Deadly Sins book. Just a little bit of light reading to...
important to have.
Well, it did pay off having that, though. The final solution was sourced from the pages of that book. As I was mentioning, the proto-effects that we still see to this day, the doors mysteriously opening by themselves and closing by themselves. This was possibly the first time that happened in a film, and they still do it.
Yeah.
Someone goes up to knock at the mysterious castle, but the doors open before they manage to knock. The use of fast motion or stop motion, the ghostly carriage moved a lot faster than a normal carriage, using skipping of frames. And when Nosferatu was packing his coffins, all of that was done with stop motion, and it was probably very impressive at the time, watching that. The other thing that is still recognisable today is, "You are safe. Everything will be okay now."
You know this isn't true. Right now, you know this isn't true, and you're still saying it?
Everything will be okay now. A question I have. Okay, Nosferatu's fangs are at the front. When did they move to the sides? When did it become tradition that vampires had the fangs sort of coming from the eye teeth rather than the double front fangs?
That's a great question that I can't answer.
Why not? Why do you not have... You have the source of all knowledge right. Maybe one of our dear listeners may be able to answer that question.
Yeah, seems like a difficult thing to look up, frankly.
The only other thing that I've got written down is the rats. I had visions of some poor soul underneath pushing these rats up so that they emerge from the hold of the boat. Speaking of the boat, the set was was quite impressive, I thought.
Yeah.
Yes.
By all rights,
Yes.
we should not have been able to see this film.
No.
No. Produced in 1922, it was so blatant, they literally said it in the original opening titles.
The based on...
knockoff of Bram Stoker's Dracula. And, of course, as a result, they were sued and went bankrupt, and all the copies of the film were supposed to be destroyed.
Huh. So we just imagined that last hour and a half. Or if we'd watched it on the DVD. 77 minutes.
And yet, as happens when things are supposed to be destroyed, some things survive and make it through. The titles at the top of the film said that the music was by Hans Erdmann. I don't know how much of what we heard, if any, was actually Erdmann's work. Much of it did not survive.
Yep.
And so has had to be either reconstructed or redone in the style of, or just
it certainly
have a new
worked,
soundtrack.
Though. The soundtrack did work a lot better than the DVD effort, I thought.
I felt maybe there was some issues with timing.
The clock chime struck me as being a bit odd, in that you would see the clock chime 12 and then maybe a minute or so later you'd hear the chimings, which was a bit...
Yeah. I don't have much more to say about it. I'm fresh out of content to add to this segment.
Yep. It is interesting. This was only 2 years after The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which is another famous silent, sort of edging on the horror kind of feel. But the sets on that were a lot more theatrical, I guess, and stylistic and shaky. And that's, I guess, what I have to compare in my mind. We had to watch that in Year 12 media studies for early examples of cinematography. And it's interesting to compare how much changed within 2 years. Anyway, so you have nothing else?
No,
I am glad that we watched that. I think it was worthy of a watch. I don't feel like it was a waste of an hour and a half, but I don't know whether I would spend another hour and a half watching it again.
I wouldn't. No.
It's one of those, yes, we have watched it, and
Yep.
we recognise the historical significance, and we are the better for it, aren't we?
You can't see me, but I'm squinting. Where's the value?
All right. Well, let's move on then.
The following segment is currently on fire. Have a nice day.
Possibly the first thing that comes up in this segment would be very much tied in to the film that we've just watched. The prompting that that encouraged the watching of that was the fairly regular comments from one of our dear listeners, into Nosferatu, who said, what did he say about the impending viewing of this?
Well, first of all,
Yep.
He commented on the black hole,
Yes.
which gave him weird dreams when he was a kid, even though he never saw the whole thing. Just sort of bits of it.
Yep.
And a similar thing happened with the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, which, yeah, that would mess you up at the age of about 7,
Yes.
just seeing the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
That is pretty freaky, the
Yeah.
end of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah. And Nosferatu goes on to say that he needs to go rewatch Shadow of the Vampire.
Which I was only vaguely aware of existence-wise, and had always assumed, oh, it's another vampire film. I've never been into vampire movies. And so when one pops up, absolutely no interest whatsoever in watching it. So watching today's film is, I guess, very much a tribute to our dear listener and to Nosferatu. Otherwise, yeah, vampire movies just don't pop up. And I assumed that the film that he mentioned, Shadow of the Vampire, was just another vampire movie. But please do go on, Thomas.
Pretty sure that was it. From
okay.
Nosferatu.
Well, it turns out that Shadow of the Vampire is loosely based on the production of Nosferatu, a dramatisation, but stretching of the story in doing so. Which intrigued me enough to track down a second-hand copy that is somewhere between, I think it was Queensland and Tasmania. It may get here one day. But yes, the plot description has intrigued me enough to want to watch it. And I think it's important that we have watched Nosferatu before we do that.
Dear listener Helen.
Hi, dear listener Helen.
Writes in to say that she was with you at that first viewing.
I can
Black Hole.
Completely believe that. I was, 10 at the time, 11 at the time, and very much conscious of my own existence and very important people, like my uncle. I recognised that I was there and he was there. And yes, I can believe that you were there too, dear listener Helen.
She also notes that, contrary to what we said last week, she has been listening to the podcasts first and then watching the movies.
Yes, I found that interesting. But it made sense in the way that, yeah, I can't remember why it made sense, but I'm sure it did. And she's caught up.
Yes, congratulations.
Well done.
Now,
well done. Now you can
like all
that opportunity to get behind again.
Yeah, like all good binge viewers, you are now bereft of content.
That's right. You're now hanging out for the next episode. Is there anything else?
I think that was it.
So that's a great segue then. The next episode.
Pick a film for next week so we can go to bed.
It's your turn.
It is my turn. And I had a thought.
Oh no.
Yeah. This is a vague tangent.
Right.
From what we've just watched.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
The film that I'm thinking of.
Right.
Is from 1952.
Mm-hmm.
It stars Gene Kelly.
Right.
Donald O'Connor. And Debbie Reynolds.
Okay.
On our shelf, it's in a 2-disc special edition.
Is it?
With an old style G for general exhibition.
Ah.
On the cover, there are 3 umbrellas with people in yellow raincoats underneath them.
Oh, right. That is quite a tangent.
We have just watched a silent movie.
Yes. Okay, I see the tangent now. Yes. Okay, so this film is set in the time that the talkies suddenly become a thing, and certain actors are ill-equipped for the transition.
Yes. Next week, we will be singing in the rain.
Cool. Oh, I like that. Yeah. All right.
Give us a bit of an uplift from the dreariness of the last 2 weeks.
Yes, we're escaping the fears, the dreads, the hiding behind cushions, and we're grabbing our umbrellas and copious amounts of water being pumped onto stage sets. Oh, I'm really looking forward. I like that. I
Yeah.
like that idea very much. Do you perchance have a plot synopsis for singing in the rain?
I have some text that is on the back of the case.
Okay. Would you please tell our dear listeners what is written on back of case?
Silent movies are giving way to talking pictures, and a hoofer turned matinee idol is caught in that bumpy transition, as well as his buddy, prospective ladylove, and shrewish co-star. Those are 3 separate people, just to be clear. The musical masterwork Singing in the Rain marks its 50th anniversary in this deluxe edition, providing a downpour of celebratory special features that salute not just this all-time favourite, but also the musical legacy of its producer, songwriter Arthur Freed.
Good. Most of which we will not touch on next week.
No, we will not.
We will watch the main feature. We will hopefully enjoy it, and then we'll share our thoughts with you. We hope that we can join you. We hope
that we can be inside your house.
That's right.
Right at this moment.
Indeed.
Yeah.
But until then, we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
You have been listening to Cellulose Free. Your hosts were Colin, who produces and edits the show, and Thomas, who makes the artwork and music. Cellulose Free is recorded in the Deranged Cat Studios in scenic Tasmania, Australia. We keep track of our extensive physical media collection through My Movies, which we highly recommend. You can find links to that, as well as other places you can find us in the show notes. Cellulose Free is a Hi Hello production.
Brains.
No, that's zombies.
Oh.
You're thinking of zombies.
Right.
This was a vampire film.
I want to suck your blood, blah, 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 blah,
Well,
blah, blah.
you can't have it. It's not available.
I think it's quite apt that I donated plasma this week. I saw bags of blood as well as a bag or two of plasma.
Right.
Mm.
Red?
Plasma, wasn't it? It looked like urine, actually. But yes, the blood was red. But the blood donors are on the other side of the room. The riffraff over the other side of the room. No, good on them. Anyone who can donate blood or plasma, encourage you to do so. And platelets. Except we still can't in Tasmania. It's a real pain. Anyway, I'm going to hit stop.
Link in the doobly-doo?
Link in the doobly-doo. Yes, we'll add a link in the doobly-doo to the version we just watched of Nosferatu 2.
All the links in the doobly-doo.
Yeah, in the doobly-doo.
Even the ones you don't want.
No. I'm stopping. How long is the DVD?
73.
73 minutes. The one on YouTube is 128 minutes. So the joys of films that are in the public domain. Yes, but it is...
Not 128, an hour 28.
Oh, sorry.
Which is roughly how long it should be.
Okay, so I'll re-record that so I don't sound like an idiot. It's an hour 28. Good, and I can edit all that out.
I'm sure it'll sound just fine.
It will.
Murnau's Nosferatu is an unauthorized adaptation. Sorry, I should read exactly what is on the back here.
Yes.
Murnau's Nosferatu is an
And we'll catch you on the flip side.
Murnau's Nosferatu is an unauthorized adaptation of Bram Stoker.